one.
Today is Friday, April 17th, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, will there be more money for small businesses? We'll talk to Congresswoman Robin Kelly of Illinois. The Black Caucus is demanding that Black and other minority businesses get their fair share. And Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, shades Donald Trump, just destroys the liar in chief. Wait until y'all see this video. What the hell is Dr. Phil talking about when it comes to deaths in the country and coronavirus? No big deal. Wait till we play this video from Fox News. And then you also see this video when Laura Ingraham just called Dr. Anthony Fauci to basically say, why in the hell am I even talking to this clueless woman? All right, folks. Also on today's show, Donald Trump rolls out this new plan to reopen the country. What's up with testing? Dr. Ebony Wilson joins us. Also in Ohio, their primary is in 2 weeks. But what's going to happen when it comes to voting? Former state senator Alicia Reese will join us. In Michigan, we'll talk to a journalist who broke down an investigative report revealing that ex-governor Rick Snyder knew about Flint's toxic water and lied about it. We'll break down all the details, and we'll give you examples of some people helping people through this pandemic. Colin Kaepernick, also author Frederick Joseph. Joseph will join us right here on the show. And, folks, Bubba Wallace, NASCAR's only Black driver, talks about Kyle Larson. You know, the white driver suspended for using the N-word? Yeah. Plus another crazy-ass white person in Georgia. And fans are concerned about Chadwick Boseman's weight loss. Okay, I got a few words for y'all that y'all need to pay attention to. And the fond farewell to two African-American giants who have passed away. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling.
All right, folks, when it comes to COVID-19, Congress is trying to do their part when it comes to helping American businesses. But the initial program, $350 billion for small businesses, out of money. So what's going to happen next? Republicans are now blaming Democrats for saying they have rejected Donald Trump's call for an additional $250 billion. But the Black Caucus, they want some conditions on the money. Joining us right now is Congresswoman Robin Kelly of Illinois. Congresswoman, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thanks for having me.
So the Republicans are saying y'all are the reason why small businesses can't get any more money. But the Black Caucus is saying we want to make sure that Black and other minority small businesses are actually getting the money and not Ruth Chris Steakhouse, which got $20 million, Potbelly, which got $10 million, and other major companies that qualified as small businesses, correct?
Yes, we want to make sure our mom and pop businesses, our businesses with maybe 2 people or 5 to 7 people. We just had a conversation with Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and she said their average small business has 5 to 7 people. So we want to make sure it's balanced. The thing about Potbelly and Ruth Chris, they did follow the letter of the law, and they do employ 6,000 people at one place, 5,700 at another. And those are, working people also. They don't make a lot of money. So I get that, but we have to have a much, much better balance to make sure, again, that Black and brown businesses, small businesses are truly getting the money.
And the other problem, Congresswoman Kelly, I have heard from numerous small businesses all over the country, and banks are picking winners and losers. One of the things that we're seeing is that what the banks are doing, so the way the system is set up, you have to go through a bank in order to be able to qualify for the dollars. Well, what these banks are saying is, hey, if you have loans with us, we'll work with you. There are other people who only have checking accounts. And in fact, I was talking, this one story, this one bank turned down a woman, Bank of America, turned a woman down for a credit card. She then went and got a credit card from Capital One. Then when she applied for the PPP program, they turned her down because they said, oh, you don't have a credit card with us. What the hell was she supposed to do? They turned her down.
Right. Yeah, some of the banks are playing games, and they're saying only if you have an account with us or you do business with us. Some of the banks are doing it. I've heard from people where small business, where they've worked out and people have worked with them, but I've also heard too much of the other also. But under Maxine Waters' leadership, one thing that we're trying to do is give opportunities to other banks, not just using, the big banks or the banks everybody's heard of. We want to try to bring in community banks and other financial institutions.
Well, and that really is what's jumping out here. Yesterday, John Hope Bryant of Operation Hope, he said what he is pushing is for Congress to, in essence, deputize Office of the National Urban League, NAACP, and Operation Hope and others who can serve as places to help process these applications, because the banks are also saying we're overwhelmed, too many applications. But the reality is these small businesses, and you're right, 5 to 7 employees. Look, I have a total of 10 people in my small business. And the reality is, truth be told, we can't compete against folks who actually have 400 and 500 or 1,000, but then they can qualify as a small business.
Right, because I worked into the bill by the Restaurant Association was that even though they have 6,000 employees, but there's not one franchise that has more than 500 employees. So that's how that was worked out for the Restaurant Association. But we have to have a balance. We have to do better than we are. And I know from all the caucus phone calls that we are trying to iron out, the difficulties. And we do want to put more money in, but also there's some other things that we want to do also that are needed, like helping individuals, helping the hospitals, trying to see what we could do for municipalities, because they're losing money too, because all the businesses, are closed, so they're not getting the sales tax. So we're trying to do other things too, but we definitely want to help small businesses.
And so, again, as Republicans blame Democrats for this.
Well, that's nothing new.
Right, precisely. But from you, what Democrats are doing is they are first of all, I also take it, they're pouring over all the details, because now we're finding out that these millionaires, there's $90 billion that was tucked into this bill. These millionaires are all of a sudden I saw this story where they're going to be getting an average $1.6 million in terms of how this is working out. And so I take it you're also making sure that no bill is passed where the rich folks keep getting richer.
We definitely are. I wasn't, in Congress in 2008 and 2009, but, there are people that were, and we have talked about, we don't want a repeat of that where the rich get richer and the little guy or the little woman, that they lose out or lose their job. And some people are still trying to recover. So, if some people are still trying to recover, it's exacerbated in Black and brown communities, and we want to prevent that.
All right, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And we appreciate the CBC fighting on behalf of all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. As of today, there are 694,712 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the country. 36,181 people have died, more than 4,000 in the past 24 hours. 59,147 people have recovered. Now, folks, Donald Trump spent today whining and complaining on Twitter. Oh, my goodness, they aren't telling me thank you, and they aren't saying we appreciate all that you've done. Really? Really? And now what he's done is he's now shifting the blame to the states. Well, after he was blasting Governor Andrew Cuomo on Twitter, actually was watching Cuomo's news conference and was commenting on what Cuomo was saying. This is so delicious. Watch what Cuomo said back to Trump as he watched him on TV.
Let's respond to the president. First of all, if he's sitting home watching TV, maybe he should get up and go to work, right? Second, let's keep emotion and politics out of this and personal ego if we can, because this is about the people and it's about our job. And let's try to focus on that. I have said repeatedly that when we were fighting for the additional capacity for a hospital system, that the president moved very quickly, and I applauded him for it. And he brought the Army Corps of Engineers, and he brought them up to build the Javits Center capacity, 2,500 beds. He's wrong that it hasn't been used. About 800 people have gone through Javits. To dismiss 800 people is disrespectful. But we didn't use 2,500 beds because we didn't reach the capacity. When he says, well, we built it, we didn't need it, it sounds like a suggestion is, well, it was a request by the state that wasn't valid. If he didn't really believe 2,500 beds was necessary, I don't believe the federal government would have helped build 2,500 beds. And the number came from a projection from him. See, he should read the reports he issues. The White House Coronavirus Task Force had projected in the millions of people. The CDC, which is the president, projected in the millions of people. So the projections were high. They were the president's projections. So for him to say to anyone, well, you relied on projections and the projections were wrong, they're your projections, Mr. President. So were we foolish for relying on your projections, Mr. President? CDC, Coronavirus White House Task Force, that's you, White House, that's you. We relied on your projections. Okay, shouldn't have relied on your projections. Actually, I think the president has a better argument, which is, yes, we built 2,500 beds because the projections said it could get that bad. And because we worked together, we flattened the curve and we didn't hit the projection, which is actually what happened. But don't suggest that anyone made a mistake relying on your projections or on Cornell, Columbia, McKinsey, et cetera. Second, I have said a number of times, I don't know, what am I supposed to do, send a bouquet of flowers? They were very helpful on Javits. They were very helpful on sending the U.S. Navy ship Comfort. They were very helpful in intervening with China and getting PPE equipment out of China. They were very helpful in helping us find ventilators. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, going forward, we're still in the midst of it. The president doesn't want to help on testing. He said 11 times. I said the one issue we need help with is testing. He said 11 times, I don't want to get involved in testing. It's too complicated. It's too hard. I know it's too complicated and it's too hard. That's why we need you to help. I can't do an international supply chain. He wants to say, well, I did enough. Yeah, none of us have done enough. We haven't, because it's not over. So yes, thank you for the Javits. Thank you for the U.S. Navy ship Comfort. But it's not over. We have a lot more to do. And no one can take the posture, well, just say thank you for what I've done, and I'm now out. I'm not doing anything else. I've done my part. What if I said to the people of my state, okay, I'm done. By the way, I saved hundreds of thousands of lives. I flattened the curve. I created more hospital beds than anyone ever imagined. I coordinated the entire state. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going home. I'm going to go see my mother. I'm going to spend time with my kids, and I'm going to go out fishing in Connecticut because their marinas are open. That's it. I'm done. What if I said that? That's what he's saying. I'm done. I don't want to help on testing. Testing is too hard. And then the only thing he's doing, let's be honest, well, it's up to the states to do reopen. By the way, it was always up to the states. What are you going to grant me what the Constitution gave me before you were born? It's called the 10th Amendment. I didn't need the President of the United States to tell me that I'm governor. And I didn't need the President of the United States to tell me the powers of a state. People did that. Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, they are the ones who gave me the power. And I don't need the President of the United States to read the Constitution for me. Maybe he should have read the Constitution before he said he had the power to open the states, where he did a very graceful 180, and many people allowed him to do the graceful 180. But, so he now says it's up to the governors, which he said repeatedly now, yesterday, version of yesterday. And now it's up to the governors to reopen. Okay, I'm going to reopen. I get it. And you don't want to help on testing, which is a national problem and replicates the same chaos that you created with medical supplies because FEMA wasn't ready. By the way, I needed a stockpile. Where was your stockpile? 10,000 ventilators for the nation? That was your stockpile? Where your projections, the federal projections said they would need double the hospital capacity of this nation. Think about that. The CDC says double the hospital capacity of the nation. The minimum projection was 2.4 million hospital beds. You know how many hospital beds we have in this nation? 900,000. His projection says 2.4 million hospital beds. The whole hospital system is only 900, and his stockpile has 10,000 ventilators. You were ready with your stockpile? Didn't you read your own CDC projection? Didn't you read your own coronavirus protection? So, thank you again, Mr. President, for the Javits. Thank you for the U.S. Navy ship Comfort, which, by the way, is just doing your job as president. It's not really thank you like you wrote a check yourself, but thank you for that. We're not out of the woods. We have to go forward. We need help on testing, and we need funding. It's up to the governors. It's up to the states. Will then provide the funding. No, they only want to pass a bill that funds their small business fund called PPE, their small business program. We need to fund the small business program. But you're going to say, after just saying this monumental task is up to the individual governors and the individual states, I'm providing no help, no assistance, no financial money. I understand that small businesses need the funding. By the way, I know that airlines need a bailout, but not the states. why don't you show as much consideration to states as you did to your big businesses and to your airlines? Right?
Ooh, talk about laying the wood. See, that's what happens when you actually read stuff and you have facts, but clearly Donald Trump has no clue whatsoever. Joining us right now is Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton. She's associate professor, anesthesiology and critical care medicine, University of Virginia. All right, Dr. Ebony, clearly as you heard that, you had to be saying, damn, this sort of reaction I got, damn. It was just like another, damn. Then just another, damn.
I was about to call a timeout. He had time today. He had time today.
And Trump was watching. Trump was watching because he was live tweeting.
Listen, I'd have had to turn that off. We had to fight. I mean, that was, for me, anybody that knows me, that was life for me, because to read someone for exactly who they are without even having to throw insults, just to give you a mirror and say, hey, look, this is what you've been handing out. Everybody sees it. It's very clear. You're not fooling anyone. But I give him, he had time. He had a Bible to give the hand on. I loved every piece of it. So yeah, I'm here for it.
The thing is that what you're dealing with right now is Donald Trump wanted these governors to beg. He wanted them to bow down. Now he's doing this. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm done with y'all. So y'all, I ain't got nothing to say. So y'all figure out testing. I ain't got no problem. That's what's going on here. That is dangerous.
It's not only dangerous. See, I see Trump for who he is. This is a setup for when it goes bad, I have someone to blame because I didn't open it up. You guys opened it up.
There you go.
And you didn't do it the right way. What we know is that before you can open up the economy, biology will always win. So unless you have testing in place, unless you have a method by which to trace those who are actually positive and make sure that their community is going to be safe and that they have the resources they need to actually isolate themselves and actually still have money to feed themselves and keep a shelter over their head, unless you have the treatments already in place and the hospitals geared up to take care of the people that may come in mass, then you're not ready to open the economy. But what Trump wanted to do was, because our economy is in struggles, and I do know, like I said, virus kills, but so does poverty. So do we have to balance? Yes. But you balance and you open the economy once you have these measures in place. And he knows it's not in place. Dr. Fauci has probably told him this is not going to be good. And so what now Trump is doing is covering his tracks to say, governors, this one is on you. If it's your choice to open it, then go ahead and open it. But as soon as it goes bad, he's going to say, I had nothing to do with it.
Well, he's already said, I take no responsibility at all. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. This whole deal, the federal government, we're not a backstop for ventilators and for equipment. You know, we're not some shipping clerk. Actually, you are. That's why there's an emergency stockpile of all kinds of goods and services for that very reason. Now, when you looked at these orders that they gave, do you believe they make sense? Or do you think what's going to happen is governors, county officials, and mayors are going to say, you know what? That's cute. Y'all set the guidelines. We gonna listen to real professionals who are going to give us the 411 on what's proper and what's just.
Well, sadly enough, we already know what's going to happen. If your state is red, you know what's going to happen. If your state is blue, you know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, what we've seen with this administration is that it has become very divisive, where science does not matter. It matters along the lines of party lines. And so we saw the states that took forever to have a stay-at-home order. There's still some states without one. We know which governors have said, oh, we're going to keep our beaches open, and which one said that our state is going to be closed regardless if you march on my grounds or not. We're closed. So we already know how this is going to go. And so what I tell those people in those red states, is that our prayers are with you, and we're going to do everything we can do on the medical end to take care of you. We just have to band together.
I just think that, look, the governors in the regions are doing the smart thing by saying we're going to coordinate amongst ourselves because, frankly, we're not getting any leadership from Washington. And I think you're absolutely right. Donald Trump wants to completely wash his hands of this. He wants to just push it all on everybody else and just, like Cuomo said, just sit back and just go off and do something else, maybe go play golf.
I mean, he did it with the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization, he had reports and memos back in 2019 that said, this is in China. This is what we're up against. Here's a test that you can actually use. And he said no. 12 weeks later, we still didn't have a test that was up and functioning in the United States. And now here we are 2 days ago where he's saying, World Health Organization, is your fault that America is looking the way it looks. And I'm going to defund you right in the middle of a world, like a global pandemic. I don't understand this at all. And just like, Cuomo was saying that he wants the 10th Amendment, or talking about the 10th Amendment, I'm looking at the 25th. My question is, where is that one? We need that one at this point in time.
Well, look, I think bottom line is, look, they can call for this, but I think people, until they are able to trust where we are, they're not going to be going out there. And this other deal is, I was looking at some tweets earlier, and that was apparently a call with members of Congress, and Vice President Mike Pence did it, and the Democrats were screaming, testing, 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 and they said that was the most embarrassing call we've ever had because these people they really act as if there's been enough testing. They announced this week 3.5 million tests. Kayleigh McEnany, a new press secretary, we've done more testing than anywhere in the world. That's not even 1% of the U.S. population.
It's insane. If you break it down, for every 1 million people in the United States, we've tested 10,000. That doesn't make sense at all, considering the fact that we know there are several, as what we estimated, at least 3 to 5 people for every one that we have tested as positive that are positive right now. We just didn't have a test for them to take. And so we are greatly behind the 8 ball on this. I urge people, regardless of if your elected officials tell you that you can go, if you go out of your home, you must protect yourself, not only for yourself, but for your family as well and for other families, because this thing is not over. We don't expect it to be over until late into the summer, if not into the fall. And so we have to be smart about this process and know that biology will always win.
Yep. End of the day. Simple as that. Dr. Ebony Hilton, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right. You take care. Have a great weekend. Folks, in case you forgot, here's a look at what Donald Trump has been doing for the past 2 months.
We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China.
It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Our numbers are lower than just about anybody.
Yeah, no, I don't take responsibility at all.
People coming in from China, where this all started, it could have been stopped right where it came from, China. It came from China. It got out of control.
If you think about Governor Cuomo, we're building him 4 hospitals. He's supposed to be buying his own ventilators. We're going to help.
People like Governor Inslee, he should be doing more. He shouldn't be relying on the federal government. Governor Inslee, that's the state of Washington.
Don't call the woman in Michigan. All she does is she has no idea what's going on, and all she does is say, oh, it's the federal government's fault, and we've taken such great care of Michigan. This administration inherited a broken system.
The original tests, the ones we inherited, Jim, as an example, they were broken. They were obsolete. And you remember we inherited a broken system. We inherited a broken system. WHO, that's the World Health Organization, they missed the call. World Health got it wrong. I mean, they got it very wrong. In many ways, they were wrong. I'm not happy with the World Health Organization.
The reality is that the WHO failed to adequately obtain, vet, and share information in a timely and transparent fashion. It would have been so easy to be truthful. The coronavirus, you know that, right? Coronavirus. And this is their new hoax.
And the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to 0.
Well, we now know those deaths are a lot higher. Now, of course, folks at Fox News, I mean, they're just quite genius, okay, because, they just love to talk about what's going on here. So before I play for you what Dr. Phil said, so check this out. So Dr. Anthony Fauci was on Laura Ingram's show, and if y'all want to see how she is not the brightest bulb in a dark room, listen to this idiotic question and just watch the facial response of Dr. Fauci. Folks, go right to it here.
Area where you have very few people.
Question of a vaccine.
Hold on one second. Come back to me.
people
Come back to me. All right. So let me go ahead and clear some audio here. There are a couple of things that are going. This is, first of all, when you see this video, I saw it, and if you want to understand why these nuts are running around the country holding these protests, it's because they're watching Fox News, and they are literally feeding these nuts. And if y'all just want to kill yourselves, go right ahead. But that's pretty much what y'all doing. Okay, here we go. Check this out.
Dr. Fauci, on the question of a vaccine, we don't have a vaccine for SARS. I mean, they got close in mice. We don't have a vaccine for HIV, and life did go on, right? So the idea that we're definitely going to have a vaccine, we didn't really approach much else in the same way as we're pegging going back to normal with a vaccine. Did we?
Well, no, but Laura, this is different. HIV/AIDS is entirely different. We don't have a vaccine for HIV/AIDS, but we have spectacularly effective treatment. People who invariably would have died years ago right now are leading essentially normal lives. SARS is a different story. SARS disappeared. We developed a vaccine. We were in the process of going through the various phases. We showed it was safe. We showed it induced a good response. And then SARS disappeared. And we didn't need to develop a vaccine for SARS. So I think it's a little bit misleading maybe to compare what we're going through now with HIV or SARS. They're really different.
But we don't know. This could disappear. I mean, SARS did pretty much disappear. This could as well, correct?
Yeah. Anything could, Laura, but I have to tell you, the degree of efficiency of transmissibility of this is really unprecedented in anything that I've seen. It's an extraordinarily efficient virus in transmitting from one person to another. Those kind of viruses don't just disappear.
Okay.
Then the next night, they called Dr. Phil. Y'all go ahead.
250 people a year die from poverty. And the poverty line is getting such that more and more people are going to fall below that because the economy is crashing around us. And they're doing that because people are dying from the coronavirus. I get that. But look, the fact of the matter is we have people dying. 45,000 people a year die from automobile accidents, 480,000 from cigarettes, 360,000 a year from swimming pools. But we don't shut the country down for that. But yet we're doing it for this. And the fallout is going to last for years because people's lives are being destroyed.
And
y'all know he's not a medical doctor. Y'all also know he gave up his license in Texas. My panel, Tiffany Dina Lawson, Director, NAACP Youth and College Division, Dr. Chris Metzler, Conservative Analyst, Law and Victoria Burke, National Newspaper Publishers Association. Chris, what the hell? I mean, seriously, Laura Ingram's actually saying, well, we did have a vaccine for HIV/AIDS. Chris, a bus driver in Michigan is dead because a woman coughed.
Right.
He got coronavirus. He was dead 2 weeks later. There are no stories ever of someone having sex and getting HIV or AIDS and they're dead 2 weeks later. What the hell is wrong with these people?
Well, first of all, the comparison is just simply ridiculous. I mean, one of the things that I do is I own a number of medical companies. We do COVID testing every day. If you look at the virology of this, it is not, that is like comparing apples to eggs here. That is simply not a valid comparison. And then to have doctors, I'm not sure why Dr. Phil was supposed to counter Dr. Fauci.
Right.
I'm completely confused.
We've got Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, what's the other doctor? Dr. Drew, and then Dr. Drew screws up. He got to apologize. Oz got to apologize. Then Dr. Phil, who don't know jack about medicine. First of all, he said 250 people die each year of poverty. It's 250,000. He then said 360,000 die swimming pool accidents. No, it's 3,500. But here's the other deal, Chris. If you keep saying, well, here are X Americans who died because of cigarettes. I don't smoke.
Those are false. Those are false choices.
But I can die of coronavirus.
Yeah, those are simply false choices. Look, if you want to have a discussion about the economy, have those discussions. If you want to have a conversation about craziness, you could talk to Dr. Phil about that. But when you're talking about science here and when you're talking about biology here, those are simply not the appropriate guests in a situation like that. Because what it further does, and this is the problem that we're finding, what it further does is it simply confuses. It confuses the process.
Yeah, it does. And that, Tiffany, is why you've got these idiots in Michigan who are protesting with their Trump flags and their Confederate flags. Those seem to go together. And all this sort of stuff. They actually blocked an ambulance. They actually blocked an ambulance from being able to do the work. Then I'm talking to my parents today, and this dumbass woman in Texas, I don't care if I catch coronavirus. I don't care if I die. I want my liberty. Your ass ain't got no liberty or no freedom if you dead. The governor of Michigan, Tiffany, said, take your pick. You want 6 feet apart or 6 feet under?
That's the two options that you have. Let's be very clear, Roland. As of right now, nobody should be calling him Dr. Phil anymore. His name is Phil. He has been removed from his title and privileges of being called doctor. That's number one. Number two is, if we pay attention to the dog whistling in his comments, he said folks die from poverty and folks are dying from coronavirus. And the folks who are mostly impacted by both of those issues are poor people and people of color. Dr. Phil, I looked it up when you were playing the tape. His salary is $80 million and his net worth is $440 million. He ain't got to worry about neither one of those issues. But poor people and people of color do. And so for him to have even the mental strength to come on TV and say, this is not a big deal, it's just like poverty. Poor people die from poverty all the time, and people die from coronavirus, goes to show you not only his white privilege, but also we are removing his title as doctor, period. Our folks need to take this seriously. Roland, my mother has been let off from both of her jobs and lives in Los Angeles, California. There are 22 million people who have lost their job because of this, and folks are taking it seriously. Now, back to what you said really quickly about Donald Trump and Governor Cuomo. It looks like two parents who separated, who are not trying to take responsibility for their kids, but still have to do their job and do the work to take care of the people that they serve. And this is why elections in November are so important. Because at the end of the day, the folks who are making the decisions about the stimulus packages, our health care, our schools shutting down, our jobs, your $1,200 check that you're going to get with Donald Trump's name on it, et cetera, all of that is coming from people that we are voting for or that we choose not to vote for. And that's why November is so important. And we got to remove Donald Trump from office.
But, Lauren, so now all of a sudden, Phil worries about the poverty? Now all of a sudden, there's a concern? And somebody might be who's watching, and I'm looking at your comments on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. Oh, that's Fox News. Y'all, but here's the problem. This is even broader. It's so many in conservative media. Michael Savage, okay, you will never, ever in your life hear me say anything positive about Michael Savage But I'm reading the New York Times, Lauren, and Michael Savage is going, y'all are idiots listening to Sean Hannity, who he mockingly calls Dr. Hannity, and Dr. Limbaugh. Why? Because Michael Savage, even though he's a nut, has a PhD and studied epidemiology.
Right.
He's been screaming, y'all, this thing is real. But you have conservative media who is just waving a flag, oh, this is blown out of proportion. And the problem is, Lauren, they are talking to lawmakers and governors and state reps and state senators and members of Congress and business leaders, and they're listening to these nuts.
Yeah, well, what's actually going on here is just the Fox News game of protecting Donald Trump. And the reason that, of course, Trump doesn't want to do more testing is he doesn't want to find out that the numbers are bigger than they actually are. The reason that you have Dr. Phil somehow sitting there crossing Dr. Fauci is they're trying to message it's no big deal, it's no big deal, it's no big deal. And they're also trying to message that, of course, closing our businesses and closing down our way of life is something that somehow is a decision that is hurting Trump, but is made by other people. That's why you have all this stuff about the governors. So, as Tiffany just said, it's like 22 million people filing for unemployment. We have 110,000 businesses that are going out of business as we speak. But this is all messaging. It's all PR. It's all following the Pied Piper of Donald Trump down the road to nowhere because he is doing PR. He is not doing public policy. He's not interested in public policy. The people he hires in the White House are not interested in public policy. They're interested in getting past the next PR moment, and they're in huge trouble. I think, frankly, I will be absolutely shocked if he wins this election. This entire thing is him. It's him not reading his intel report in January and talking about vaping, okay? It's him not preparing the country for this pandemic. He can't blame it on anybody else. And no amount of PR and no amount of dancing around is going to change that because now we have, 35,000 people dead in a month? And all because we weren't prepared, because we didn't prepare early enough, because he wanted to fool around and act like this was no big deal. Them acting like it's no big deal is their attempt to try to save Donald Trump from the inevitable reality that nobody is going to ignore at the end of this when we end up with 50 or 60,000 people in the end dead because of COVID.
The thing that's crazy, Chris, is if you look at numbers, and so go to my computer, please. This was tweeted today by John Harwood. He, first of all, Gallup numbers. Chris, Trump approval numbers, white non-college youth, 18-29 is 43% approved. Everybody else under 30, 21%. Then this other poll, Gallup poll on how Americans rate Trump's performance as president. Whites without college degrees, 61% approved, 37% disapproved. Everybody else, 31% approved, 64% disapproved. Chris, here's what is crazy. No president wants a moment like this. But it's moments like this that actually can solidify you steamrolling your competition or you're actually losing. For him to, he is pretty much saying, yeah, federal government, we're done. States, y'all go right ahead. As opposed to states, we've got this for you. We've got this. I've enacted the National Defense Production Act. We're sitting here. Oh, no, companies, you're not going to be charging us $15 per PPE when you were charging $5. He wouldn't say to DuPont, we're going to pay for the chartered flight to send your stuff overseas to get stitched together and then bring it back, and then you're going to sell back to us 60% of the stuff you made when we just paid for your chartered flight. No, he would, if a real leader would have come out and said, the no bid contract that bankrupt company out of Virginia got to $55 million for masks, no, we canceled that contract. The American public, the numbers would go through the roof. This idiot, Chris, does not want the responsibility because he wants to be able to say, I had nothing to do with it. Y'all can't blame me.
Well, and the unfortunate thing about this from a political standpoint is this. The whole coronavirus thing, it seems to me, and particularly in some conservative circles, it seems to me that the conversation is it's an either-or strategy. It actually is a both-and strategy. And here's what I mean by that. You do the testing very early. You figure out what the numbers are so that when testing is actually done, the numbers don't skyrocket and look like you've done absolutely nothing.
But Chris, remember though, in the beginning, he didn't want to do it. He actually said, yeah, we didn't want to bring them off the ship because the numbers would have increased. He basically said what you just said. And so this whole time, Donald Trump has not wanted to actually do massive testing because he doesn't want to see a big number. And here's what's so dumb about this. If you actually do mass testing, and even if it's a big number, it actually benefits you because you did mass testing.
Right.
Well, right. Precisely. It does. And then if you look at some of the attempts, there was all this discussion about disparities relative to testing. For example, in New York City, where, I don't know, a large percentage of people don't have cars, you're only doing drive-up testing. Same thing in some parts of Florida. They don't drive. How are they going to get there? So it's all of those kinds of things. The calculation here, I'm not sure is the right calculation.
At the end,
I'm not sure. No, this was the wrong calculation. It was the wrong calculation. Sure about it. It was the wrong calculation. Let's be very clear. Roland, the numbers that you just showed are so important for us to pay attention to. Not because we have to speak to the choir. The people, the 61% of folks who are still approving Donald Trump, those are the angry, racist supporters who are still going to come out during the elections in November who want to see him get reelected. And his rhetoric, I wonder, just as a case study, what it would be like if Fox News played the video that you just played from January all the way to April with the different scenarios of what he was understanding COVID-19 to escalate as and how he decided to respond to it. Because what he has done is he has, again, it's like two parents who can't get along, who state governors and the president who are victim blaming each other to say, you're not doing enough, you're not thanking me enough, you were supposed to do this, you didn't do that, when really we all have to do what's best for the people, period. And Donald Trump does not want to take responsibility. He never wanted to be at fault. I actually disagree. I think he likes being on TV and getting all the attention that he's getting.
Oh, he does.
I think that he loves having press conferences every day to waste all of our time. He likes shaming and embarrassing and insulting the reporters who are coming to the news press conference to ask him real questions. He enjoys the attention. Let's not get confused. But the problem is not that we know he's an idiot. The problem is the narrative that he has told and the way that he has unrolled this blame-shifting strategy keeps his voters engaged, and he knows because he's running again, that's what's going to help him in November. So Fox News, which has never gotten its act together, needs to tell the truth to save its people. And the people who still support Donald Trump need to get their act together because this is going to impact them just as much as it's impacting everybody else. And,
of course, Lauren, you have this idiot tweeting to people to basically rise up in Minnesota, in Michigan, in Virginia.
Yeah. He's trying to get the organic support, the grassroots support to put the pressure on governors that, frankly, he wants to control in terms of opening the government so the economy can get back on its feet and he won't get blamed for a bad economy in the election. The whole thing is PR, as usual with him. The reason he does the daily press conference is that's his messaging. He gets to stand up there and lie. Millions of people see him lying. And he knows that. And he knows the networks are, for some reason or another, they're starting to figure it out.
Hold tight 1 second. Right now, Dr. Anthony Fauci is actually speaking at the White House news conference. Let's go live to the White House.
Answer the question that we've been asked a lot. In fact, we had a very productive teleconference with the Senate Democratic Caucus just a few hours ago. And they asked a number of questions, which were really reasonable questions, questions that are on the mind of a lot of different people. And one of them was the question that was just posed a moment ago, is are there enough tests to allow us to be able to go through this first phase in a way that is protective of the health and the safety of the American people. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes clarifying a few things and maybe providing some information on a broad 40,000 foot, which you'll hear some of the more granular details from my colleagues who will be following me. I think they asked me to give the 40,000 foot one because I'm not a testing person. I didn't run a testing lab, but I'm part of a team that is looking at this, of how we can best make sure this happens in the right way. So first of all, let me say something that we said before, and I apologize if I'm repeating things that you already know, but I think in some respects it's important to do that so that people have clarity in what we're talking about. There are two general types of tests, even though within each general type there are different subgroups. One of them is to actually test for the infection. Is a person infected? The other, and I'll get back to that in a second, the other is to test, as was just mentioned, if someone has been infected. Usually someone has been infected who has recovered, and as I'll get to in a moment, that you could assume, although we need to do some more work on that, that that person is actually protected against subsequent exposure and infection with an identical organism. So what are some of the pluses and minuses of each? Because the pluses and minuses are really going to impact how we best use the test and how the test actually should be used. So let's take the test for whether or not you're infected. The test of whether or not you're infected is a test that right now is called a nucleic acid test. It's not an easy test to do. There are some that are more rapid. There are some that have a high throughput. There are different groups within that. The good news about that is that it's a sensitive and specific test, so that if you're infected, you know you're infected, so that, as I'll get to in a moment, if you need to do something with that, get that person, put them in care, take care of them, get them out of circulation. That's important. The part about that I think is often misunderstood is that if you get a test today, like I did today, it's negative. If you get a test today, that does not mean that tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day, as you get exposed perhaps from someone who may not even know they're infected, that means that I'm negative, which means if you take that to its extreme, in order to be really sure, you would almost have to test somebody either every day or every other day or every week or what it is to be absolutely certain. That's an issue. Now, the problem that I talk about when I try and compare this to other situations with what testing means to you. I, as I think most people know, have been involved in HIV/AIDS for 38 years, 39 years, from the very first week of HIV. So that's what I do. If you get a test for HIV and you are negative and you do not practice any risk behaviors, you can be guaranteed that next month, 6 months, 1 year from now, you will be negative if you don't have a risk behavior. So there's a big difference there about what testing actually means. So the point I think you're getting is that although there is clearly a place for needing to test somebody for a given reason, a test means you're negative now. Now, the other test is an antibody test, a test that tells you, in fact, that you've been infected. That's really good. You're going to hear a bit about that from my colleagues in a moment, because that will give you a broader view of two things. One, what the penetrance of the infection had been. And number two, you can make an assumption, though we still need to prove that. I mean, we are assuming that if you're infected and you have antibody, you're protected. And I think that's a reasonable assumption based on our experience with other viruses. But what we want to make sure that we know, and these are some of the challenges, what is the titer that is protective? How long is the protection? Is it 1 month? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? It's a year. So we need to be humble and modest that we don't know everything about it, but it really is an important test. The other thing is the difference between testing and monitoring out there, what's out there. The difference between What we really need it for phase one is to be able to identify, isolate, contact trace, a very important part of when you're pulling back gradually and slowly on the mitigation, and you have people who might be infected. You want to know they're infected. You want to put them in care. That is something that we absolutely need to do. But there are other ways. I want to make sure people understand that not to underestimate the importance of testing. Testing is a part, an important part, of a multifaceted way that we are going to control and ultimately end this outbreak. So please don't anyone interpret it that I'm downplaying testing. But the emphasis that we've been hearing is essentially testing is everything, and it isn't. It's the kinds of things that we've been doing, the mitigation strategies that are an important part of that. Now, just a couple of things before I hand it over to my colleagues. No doubt that early on we had a problem. I have publicly said that we had a problem early on. There was a problem that had to be corrected, and it was corrected. It was a problem that was a technical problem from within that was corrected, and it was an issue of embracing the way we have now and should have the private sector, who clearly has the capability of making and providing tests at the level that we will need them for any of the things that I've just spoken about. So, having said that, right now, I totally understand, and I'm not alone, my colleagues understand, that although we say there are X number of tests out there, and you're going to hear from Admiral Giroir about that, the fact is there have been and still are situations that are correctable and will be corrected, and some of which have been corrected. I know I get on the phone a lot with my colleagues because, believe it or not, some long time ago, I was where they are, in the hospitals, in the emergency room, looking at very sick individuals that you need to take care of. And I know what it means when someone tells you, hey, you have what you need, and you look around and you say, well, maybe you think I have what I need, but I don't really have what I need. So we have to figure out, how do we close that gap? And there are a lot of things that I think we've learned and that we are correcting and going to correct. Namely, you have a situation where tests are needed and appropriate, and either people have found there's no tests, or there's no reagents, or there's no swabs, or a person needed a test and were told that there was a restriction. They couldn't get a test. These are all the things that I'm telling you already know because you've heard them. So right now, or there's a delay of 5 to 7 days. And what does that mean if you want to get somebody out of circulation? We understand that that existed, but upon careful examination, what you are going to hear, that many of those have been already corrected and other of those will be corrected. Because what I think people don't appreciate through no fault of their own is that there are two issues. There's supply and demand. And if you have a supply that can meet the demand, but the supply is not connected to demand, then supply-demand falls apart. What do I mean by that? I mean there is existing capacity that we have that for one reason or other maybe has not been fully communicated as to the availability of that existing capacity, and you're going to hear about that now. There's production capacity that gets better and better and better. And that's what we're talking about, because for what we need now, we believe that with better communications, we'll be able to make that happen. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that. I don't want to go on too long, but let me just finish by saying.
Okay, Chris Metzler, I just need you to explain something to me right there. We need a better communication. You have a task force briefing to the world every day. Is that not? I'm just. You have a televised briefing. You've got a dude tweeting his ratings.
Every day.
You've got, Chris, the federal apparatus. I mean, do we need to hire a communications intern, Chris? Is Chris there? Okay, Chris is gone.
He needs better communication.
Tiffany, what the hell?
Yeah, he might need a few interns. That's what they need. You got every day a press conference. He just got finished tweeting again a couple minutes ago. He tweets all the time around the clock. I'm not exactly sure what he means by better communication. You know what it is? Maybe he meant him and the president need to have better communication because the president's not understanding his recommendations of what he's saying. And it has been so long that this pandemic has gotten worse that he's trying to send us a message Donald Trump is not listening and he needs better communication. Because there's no possible way at all that the communication to us has not been clear. It doesn't make any sense.
Lauren, I'm not quite understanding. So was Fauci saying we have lots of supply and no one knows we have supplies? So can y'all please spread the word and send a text and holler at your friend?
They know, there's no mistakes with communication and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is communicating exactly what Donald Trump wants to communicate. And what Donald Trump wants to communicate is that everything is great. We're going to open the country on May 1, and we're going to open in tears, and we're going to get back to where we were. He wants to communicate that because he knows that he has an election in November. He knows that he's got to get things back to where they were and sort of try to figure out a way that he doesn't get blamed for this, which is going to happen anyway. He's communicating exactly what he wants to communicate. Fauci has a problem because, of course, when Fauci tells the truth, that's a problem for his crazy boss, which is why every time they do a conference call, they do these White House task force conference calls like you referred to earlier, Roland, with members of Congress, with governors, et cetera, and so on. And Fauci has to talk in code. And Fauci has to talk in code because he knows that the fools that he works for will likely fire him if he starts telling the clear-throated truth from a medical standpoint about what's going on. Donald Trump is really good at communication. One thing is about him is that he's stupid, but he's not dumb. I mean, he's not a smart man when it comes to the details of anything with regard to policy, but he's very smart when it comes to communication strategy. He knows how to change the subject off into nonsense. He knows that everybody's watching him. He can repeat lies over and over again. And he sort of practices the old adage of if you repeat a lie long enough, people will believe it. And in our elections, there's a certain percentage that'll vote for him no matter what. There's a certain percentage of people who vote red and blue no matter what, no matter who it is. He's aware of that. And so he's going to have to probably lie his way through this because the reality is tough. I think the number of deaths now is 36,000, and we're almost at 700,000 diagnosed. We had 1 million. That's 1 million people diagnosed with COVID is one person out of 320 in the country. It's amazing when you think about that. And that's the ones that we know about. Okay, there's a lot of people we're not going to know about. So Trump understands what's going on here. So he's trying to get things back to the way they were, so he can argue that it was hyped and it was exaggerated. He's a very good communicator, actually.
Well, bottom line is we see exactly what's going on, and he can run away from it. You're right. Everybody wants to dance around it. To me, this is one of those deals where if you're Fauci, that's where you say, I dare you to fire me. I dare you. In this moment, look, stop trying to sit here and, make him feel good. No. You go up there and you say, you go up there and say, I'm going to tell the truth. I dare your ass to fire me. That's right. Yeah, go ahead and fire the leading expert in the middle of an international pandemic.
It likely will.
If you think you got a problem right now, go ahead.
Fauci can hold on to this position. If things get a lot worse and they hit the 100,000 number that was originally predicted by Dr. Birx, and the Surgeon General, then he may, because Fauci is going to have to sound the alarm if things get worse. But it's good that he's back there because you need somebody with a brain in their head back there. I suspect he's not the only one. The question is who has the guts to cross the president publicly. And from what I can see, he's the only person back there that has the guts to cross the president and get fired as a result.
Yeah, that's
them and some of the reporters.
No,
yeah.
and that's my point. You use the fact that you have an 87% approval rating,
Right.
And you say,
right.
I dare you.
That's right.
I dare you.
That's right.
All right, folks, let's talk stimulus checks. About 80 million people received their stimulus payments this week. But if you weren't one of them, it doesn't mean you won't get your money. The problem is if you didn't get your check, it's because the idiot wanted his signature on it, so therefore it was delayed. There are also technical glitches with it as well. We've also seen the video out there of some individuals who didn't realize that the people who prepared their taxes, the checks went to them. It's been all kind of confusion out there. Try to clear up some of that confusion is Deborah Owens. She's America's Wealth Coach. She joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right, Deborah, so explain to people how that works, how the people who prepared these folks' taxes, or where they went to places and they actually paid them. They couldn't pay their taxes, and so they, in essence, got a tax loan, and how those people are keeping checks. That's happening all around the country.
Yes, well, it's not unusual in our community, right? Because we're being bombarded with this marketing around get your tax return, your check early. And so we often fall for that. And so what happens is typically they're giving you a loan. I mean, freedom ain't free. So they're giving you a loan. And then when they get that check, they repay the loan. And then, basically you sort of gave them proxy over your return. And so it's not the money came into their account. It didn't go into yours. They actually had your bank account information. And so in that regard, I think there are a few things people need to know what to do, right? So we don't have to file our 2019 taxes until July 15th. So if you electronically filed your taxes in 2018, then the government has that information. So then you will get that check much easier. The other thing you could have done was filed your taxes for 2019 and got the money electronically. However, if you go to irs.gov right now, you can go ahead and enter your bank account information so that you can electronically receive your $1,200 stimulus check. Now, there's some other snafus in there as well. It's like if you they said if you didn't owe the federal government money, you would get your check, but there is some consternation around that as well. Banks are a little frustrated because they're getting notices from creditors saying if they deposit that money in the check, so let's say you maybe had a lien against your account, or someone, maybe you didn't pay a bill and they went to court to get some kind of garnishee on your check. Some of the banks are fighting out about this, but this is the sort of thing that these are the types of situations that could really hold up you getting your check quickly.
All right, so if you get your check, should you pay your bills with your check immediately?
Well, here's what I'm telling people. The bottom line is it's about keeping your cash reserve. And so, one of the things I want to really encourage people to do is to call your creditors right now, and particularly if you're laid off, and tell them that you're laid off or, because of the coronavirus, you don't have the cash flow, and see if they'll give you 60 to 90 days. You'll be surprised. Many of the people I gave that kind of call to action a couple of weeks ago when the whole stimulus package, we knew that those checks were coming. And a lot of people were able to negotiate with their creditors to extend the amount. And I think the other thing underneath that is, can we get the credit agencies to go along as well and not make it so that it's a negative check mark on your credit rating? But I really hold on to your cash, people. We don't know how long this is going on. I mean, I was just listening to your conversations, the testing. They haven't tested. I don't know about you, but I don't care if they test or not. I'm not going out here, until I feel confident that I'm not just going to willy-nilly get coronavirus, right? So you can open up all of the locations you want, but if people don't really feel safe, they're not going to do it. And so in that regard, cash is king. Keep as much liquid cash as you can. because we don't know how long this is going to go. When I say liquid, I'm not saying, put it in the mattress or anything. I am saying put it somewhere where you can have easy access to it.
All right, then. Any questions from Tiffany or Lauren for Deborah Owens?
Deborah, are we paying taxes on that money, on that stimulus check?
That's another snafu. There has been some back and forth around whether or not that is taxable. For all intents and purposes, it is taxable income. But for many people, here's what I want to say at the end of the day, is that if you were in a position that you did need that stimulus check, consider yourself grateful, right? And
Right.
for those of you who are receiving it right now, I mean, it would be great if that was a tax-free check, but I know many people out here are suffering. They've maybe been laid off. So there's some other tips that I want to give folks, Roland. They have funded food banks to a greater degree. I think you saw the lines that are in many cities of people who are going for food banks. Really, folks, don't be ashamed to get help. The other thing, and I don't believe many people are taking advantage of this, but part of that stimulus package went to states to increase the amount that you could get on unemployment. And so you need to file for unemployment. You may not think you qualify for it or whatever. Let them tell you no, because you will get your state's minimum, and then there's another $600 tacked on to that. So that's another way to get some cash flow. Another part of the stimulus bill, I know we're hearing that, the paycheck protection money is gone, and that was really for small businesses to keep their employees employed. But there's some other layers to the stimulus package. You could have applied for an economic disaster loan, and what many people didn't realize was whether you qualified for that or not, underneath that, what you could have applied for was a $10,000 grant. Grant meaning you don't have to pay it back. The other aspect of this stimulus money, a lot of people are self-employed, and they may have thought that they didn't qualify to apply for some of this money. When last Friday, if you were able to take, whether you had no employees or all, but you had 1099 miscellaneous income taxes, income reported, you could file all of those, and then your payroll, if you will, would have been 2.5 times whatever your monthly income was.
Got it.
Please, folks, we hear that the money is gone. Still continue to apply, because if the Congress does, negotiate for more money, you want to be first in line. So here is all I want to say, Roland, is if you snooze, you lose. So this is your money. These are taxes that we all pay. They're not giving us anything.
Right.
We're simply getting a return on our dollars. And the more we have, the easier it is going to be for us to sustain ourselves, because we don't know how long this is going to take.
Real quick, Tiffany, final question.
No, I don't find a question. Deborah, I have a statement, because you just said if you snooze, you lose. If folks want, it's not about Congress negotiating the money. Again, that is our money. If folks want to see an increase or folks want to receive a check, the Democrats are suggesting or recommending that folks get $2,000 a month moving forward, because you're right. We do not know how long this is going to last. Folks need to call their elected officials and tell them their stories and the conditions that they're going through, so that Congress and the president can move quicker to get folks more money, because $1,200 is not enough to last folks, considering the conditions of what we're seeing, to last folks for as long as this is going to be.
Absolutely.
Well said, sis.
All right, Tiff, we appreciate it. Deborah, tell people where they can get more information from you.
Yeah, they can go to wealthyu.com. And by the way, we've got an all-day masterclass going on tomorrow. Folks can still get in on it. They can go right to wealthyu.com. We've got a great promo code to help folks. All they have to do is put virtual, just virtual, the word in, and they get 50% off. So thanks again, Roland, for having me.
Appreciate
folks, get your money.
All right. Deborah Owens, thanks a bunch. Folks, Ohio lawmakers have extended mail voting in the state's primaries until April 28th, but you need to understand what all the deadlines are. Civil rights groups are warning the plan could disenfranchise large groups of voters after coronavirus concerns delayed the state's original primary on March 17th. Okay, so in a moment we're going to talk with a former state official who's running for a county commissioner position there. Not only that, folks, I was just reading a story here where, give me 1 second, let me pull it up on Twitter. Let me pull that up right here. Let's see here. I saw a tweet from Ari Berman, and he was discussing this very issue about what's happening in Ohio, and I wanted to read this for you. Let me pull it up. All right, let's see here. So he just had a tweet. Let's see here. Wisconsin, that's Virginia. Still looking for it. It dealt with what's happening there, specifically in Ohio. There are a number of tweets he has on here talking about what's happening, of course, in Texas, Wisconsin, all these places. Republicans are fighting them tooth and nail. And so, folks, let me know when Alicia Reese is there. First, let me go to this next story. 6 years after the city of Flint, Michigan began using a toxic water source that sickened its residents, Vice uncovered a scandal that you're not going to believe. Investigative journalist Jordan Charlton has the story and joins us right now. Jordan, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Wow, when you talk about what happened there in Flint, we now, according to your report, Snyder knew. Okay, guys, I had here Jordan was here. Let me know when you, so get Alicia on the phone or on Facebook, or get Jordan, okay? Because I'm going to one of those stores. So let's do this here. Play our commercial. We come back. We'll have Alicia Reese or Jordan talk about Flint, Michigan, back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in a moment. Check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Alicia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hey, Roland.
All right, then. You, of course, you used to be a state official, but you're also running for, is it county commissioner?
Yep, Hamilton County Commissioner in one of the swing counties in the nation.
All right, so tell us about what's happening there, the new rules they have in place when it comes to requesting a ballot and voting on April 28th.
Yeah, well, first of all, you know, our primary was cut short, and they stopped it just 12 hours before the primary was supposed to begin. So a lot of people didn't get the information. A lot of people showed up at the polling location and was turned away. And so then they put out a different date and found out that the governor did not have the authority to give a new date, and that date was in the June. Then they came back, the Ohio legislature, and came back and said, listen, we'll allow voting by mail only to be extended until April 28th. However, in order to do this, there are two steps. One, the voter must request a ballot. So you have to fill out a request form and get it back to the Board of Elections. Once you do that, then they will send you a ballot to your home. Once you get it at your home, though, you must fill it out. Now, all of this has to be done with timelines. Request forms have to be in by April 25th at noon. And then the ballot, you got to hope that the ballot gets to you in time. You have to fill that out and get it back in the mail by April 27th. All ballots must be at the Board of Elections by April 28th. So you've got timelines, you've got deadlines, you've got a two-step process. Most people had never voted by mail. When you look at the numbers, African Americans mostly voted in person, whether they early voted or were at the actual polling location. And so we have been working very hard to educate people and make sure they have access to the ballot box. And we've been doing that independently. It's unfortunate that even my own party, the Democratic Party, has not put emphasis. And I have said, wait a minute, if we're going to say we're going to vote by mail, say in the general election, and we're promoting this, we've got to start training people how to do this. And so one of the things we've done, we are in an in-shelter, except for essential things. And so we declared that voting is essential. And so one of the things that our group, the Ohio Voter Bill of Rights, as you know, been involved with, got 100,000 signatures, et cetera, for voting rights. What we did was a lot of people don't have printers at home. So we printed out all the ballots. We put them in the community where people can have access. So when you go out and get your toilet paper, we were able to work with Kroger's as well as the Board of Elections. And so they're in Kroger grocery stores. We put them in African-American-owned businesses, gas stations, soul food restaurants where you can get carry-out so that you can have access. And then we brought together and worked with the churches. As you know, Souls to the Polls is huge, but we created a new Souls to the Polls. And we started last weekend, and we're going this weekend, this Saturday, where we've got pastors and churches, and we're coming together to have a no-contact drive-through only. So you don't go in the church at all. You drive through like you drive through a fast food restaurant. You drive through, you stay in your car, you fill out the form, it's the request form. You keep your PIN. We have gloves and masks, and then we make sure that your request form gets to the Board of Elections in time so that you can be mailed your ballot. And so this is our Voting is Essential campaign. And I think we're going to have to do these kinds of things around the country.
And also, I also see the AARP is also going to be printing out ballots for people as well.
Yes, printing out the request forms, but here they haven't really received them. You can't really depend on the mail because even here on the ground, the U.S. Postal Service, we've got temps that are in because people are afraid. Some have gotten sick. So we have, not just depending on the mail, we have folks in the community that have to go out and get their medicine and so forth for seniors. We're asking them to help drop off their applications as well.
All right, then. Alicia Reese, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And let's encourage people in Ohio and other states that will be voting very soon. Get your absentee ballot so you can vote in that primary. Alicia, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, folks. 6 years after the city of Flint, Michigan began using a toxic water source and sickened its residents, I told you that Vice uncovered a scandal that Governor Rick Snyder knew exactly what was going on and lied about it. Journalist Jordan Cheriton joins us right now. Jordan, how you doing?
Hey, Roland. Thanks for having me.
So Rick Snyder lied. Explain.
Yeah, so Governor Snyder, we found, was actually warned a year before the water switch, so that would be 2013. He was briefed that Flint, using the Flint River, could actually pose a bacterial risk to Flint residents as well as carcinogens, which are, cancer-causing chemicals. He allowed the switch to go on anyway. We also learned that he became aware of the deadly Legionella outbreak, which killed, by PBS's reporting, as many as 115 people in Flint. He became aware of that in October 2014. Roland, that would be 16 months earlier than he testified to Congress. This was 2 weeks before his 2014 reelection for governor, and at a time when some reports said he was considering a run for president in 2016. So Governor Snyder was warned before the water switch, and again, he found out about the deadly Legionella outbreak 6 months into the Flint water crisis.
Oh, does that make the state liable? What does it mean? What could, based upon this reporting, what could happen?
Yeah, so we found evidence that previous prosecutors, they've been fired since by the current attorney general, were building a case against Snyder. They actually secretly brought in his chief of staff for a confidential subpoena. They brought in his treasurer for a confidential interview. They brought in his top advisor, Richard Baird, who was known kind of as Snyder's right-hand man. For whatever reason, those prosecutors were fired. What we do know is the statute of limitations is actually next week, for April 25th, for felony misconduct in office charges. In Michigan, it's 6 years is the statute of limitations. So other charges could be filed, like involuntary manslaughter or things like that. But for felony misconduct in office, it's 6 years. So that would be April 25th. So far, the new Attorney General, Dana Nessel, who came into office last year, she hasn't charged any new officials. In fact, she actually dropped the charges that were remaining against 8 state defendants, including the director of the health department and another top health official. And our reporting indicates the Attorney General of Michigan has had all this information that we broke for over a year. So it really begs the question, why have no additional charges? But yes, the state could face further liability if charges were brought against Rick Snyder.
And so the people of Flint still are dealing with an environmental disaster all these years later.
Yeah, journalistically, that's the maddening part, because as you've seen, a lot of these national media outlets have repeated that the water is improving in Flint. It's meeting regulations, but we actually found Snyder's environmental department manipulated that data. They were actually flushing residents' water right before taking lead and copper samples, which is against EPA regulations. I speak with residents today, 6 years later, that are still getting rashes, Roland, are still losing their hair. Children are, the long-term effects are starting to set in, losing cognitive abilities, forgetting letters in the alphabet, forgetting numbers, a lot of learning disabilities in children, a lot of volatile mood problems because lead damages the brain and affects your mood. Governor Snyder declared the water was safe and shut down the free water pods, but our reporting indicates that there are still serious problems with Flint's water, and they're obviously particularly vulnerable now with the coronavirus because this is a city of people with severely damaged immune systems.
Look, that just makes no sense whatsoever. Again, but you see what happens when you have public officials and lie, and why it's also important for people to support and invest in media, because the reality is there has to be somebody who serves as a watchdog to expose these things.
Yeah, and I'll say, journalistically, obviously, coronavirus is understandably the top issue right now, but, this is a major cover-up we uncovered. We worked with Vice on this, and we found that, the governor, he knew about the dangers of the Flint River, and he allowed them to switch to it anyway. And he also knew about this deadly water outbreak from Legionella. And if he would have taken action when he found out, a lot of lives could have been saved if they would have switched Flint off the river right then and there in October 2014. So this is a major, major story about corruption that I hope the national media could find some time to cover, because obviously it has major, major environmental racism ramifications. Flint is a majority minority city, and I do not think you would see this cover-up actually stand the test of time if we were talking about a upper middle class white city. I could tell you that.
Absolutely not. Jordan Charlton, we surely appreciate the good work. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland.
All right, folks. Colin Kaepernick is also working to help us through this pandemic. He is putting his money on the line, contributing $100,000 to this effort. He explains. Watch.
Black and brown communities are being disproportionately devastated by COVID-19 because of hundreds of years of structural racism.
There's been a misinformation that Black people can't get the virus.
Poorer areas, which are mostly Black and brown, have the heaviest number of patients that have been affected.
Bus drivers are on the front lines of this pandemic every day.
We out here doing our job.
After he made that video, Hargrove began to feel sick himself. He died Wednesday night.
If you do not have to be out, do not.
Health inequities are because we've had policies that devalue groups of people.
Brooklyn Hospital, they're putting bodies in the back of a freezer truck, y'all.
These communities are going to be devastated by COVID-19.
That's why we've established the Know Your Rights Camp COVID-19 Relief Fund to help address these issues. Go to knowyourrightscamp.com/COVID-19 to help.
Boy, ain't that something, Lauren? Colin Kaepernick still putting it on the line. And then while you got the NFL, who is so desperate to have their draft.
Yeah, the NFL is dollars and cents, as everybody knows, which is why they didn't want Kaepernick there in the first place, because for some reason they calculated that he was going to cost them money or whatever by speaking the truth. But the NFL is all about the bottom line. The NFL is all about the money. And now you see these sort of strange discussions about having the games with no fans, et cetera. And there's some sort of effort with Major League Baseball as well, trying to figure out how to have games anyway, because they want that TV revenue, or they want I suspect the contracts probably say something in there about if you don't provide the games, you don't get the money. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. But obviously, without the gate sales, they're going to lose a tremendous amount of money. It's actually pretty scary to watch. You know, Roland, when this whole thing first started, the first thing that went down was March Madness. And I got to tell you, my mother lives in Virginia, and the first thing I thought about was UVA and all that revenue they're losing. But to get back to the NFL, they're going to lose, you know, millions of dollars, as we all know. And I don't know what they're going to – I just don't know what they're going to do about that.
Bottom line is this here, Tiffany. You want to keep people safe. You don't want people – and here's the thing. People always talk about, you know, okay, the players. Look, remember, when the Utah Jazz and the Oklahoma City Thunder, when Rudy Gobert tested positive, they had to test team personnel. They had to test trainers, ball boys. They had to test the media that covers them. And this is the point when people say how one person could infect, as it multiplies, 1 million people. And, you know, it was so funny, the video I saw the other day, matter of fact, if I can find it, this idiot Sean Hannity, I'm not a doctor, but this is what they should do to play games at Yankee Stadium. They should be, you know, doing. And I'm sitting here going, man, y'all are. It's like, and Trump the other day, you know, we got to have sports because we can't keep seeing the same old baseball games. It's like, you said something earlier, Tiffany. I think that has to be amplified when you talk about Dr. Phil and you talk about these people who, like I say, he makes $80 million a year. You take Sean Hannity, who's making his $30 million a year. They actually already self-quarantine. They already self-quarantine. And see, what they really want, and this is the real deal, all these people who are really clamoring and the people who have resources, what they're pissed at is that now their lives are inconvenienced. See, the reality, Tiffany, is with this coronavirus deal, it's sort of like, and let me just explain it, folks. It's akin to Jim Crow. You could be black and have money, but your ass still black. And so the reality is, whether you were a poor black person or a black person with means, you still couldn't go into a restaurant, you still couldn't go into a hotel. All these rich folk, all these people, the top 1% others, is driving them crazy because they can't go to Broadway. They can't sit in suites. They can't do all things that they want to do, and they like everybody else. Sit your ass at home, shelter in place.
This is, let me say this. We have been planning for 2020 for a really long time, and nobody could have guessed or predicted or imagined that 2020 would look like this. The coronavirus and the quarantine effects of it have equalized everybody across the board. Now it doesn't matter if you have money. It doesn't matter what your title was at your job. It doesn't matter how many people worked for you. It doesn't matter how much you were able to travel. All of us, like you said, have to stay at home. And the reality check, right, that this is going to put not only on the folks who have already experienced it personally, but as the numbers continue to grow, it gets closer to all of us. Roland, listen, I have been working with young people across the country in the NAACP, and every day, whether it's social media or whether it's somebody that I am either one or two people removed from, I am being faced with people who are contracting the virus, who are self-quarantining themselves, who can't get testing, or who have unfortunately lost a loved one. And the reality is, and no matter where you are, we're all going to come in contact with this in some sort of way, unfortunately. It is everyone's responsibility to take action on it, and no matter who you are, what celebrity you are, what politician you are, it is everyone's responsibility to make sure we are keeping each other safe and we are staying in the house, and that everybody has access to good quality health care across the board. Absolutely. Now, folks, you may remember my next guest from his Black Panther Challenge, which was a GoFundMe campaign that allowed kids to see Black Panther for free. Well, he launched another GoFundMe campaign, this time to help people pay their rent ahead of April, the due date. Frederick Joseph joins me right now. Frederick, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. We were just talking about what Colin Kaepernick is doing, helping people. We're seeing these things happen all over where people are saying, hey, let's help. I talked about what Tyler Perry did, buying groceries for people in Atlanta, in other places as well. I mean, in this moment, we're seeing people step up to help their fellow brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it's a dire moment, and everybody has to play their part realistically. I think that nonprofits, governmental organizations, so on and so forth, everybody has to be ready to lend a hand realistically, or we're not going to get out of this. And that means that even if you're not doing the work, amplify somebody that is. If you can't go out and volunteer somewhere, then get the information out to people who can. You know, everybody has to be a part of this movement right now.
And when you look at the giving, first of all, how much have y'all raised so far?
We're at about $285,000.
And how are you then dispersing it out?
So we have a team that's vetting people via social media. So people are sending their requests in to me at Frederick Joseph on Instagram and Twitter. And we're vetting them via their profiles, vetting them via Google, and using software in the back end to make sure that they're legitimately who they say they are. And then we're sending the money via Cash App, Zelle, and PayPal to get people help as soon as possible, as opposed to waiting for a check or having to leave and go speak to an organization.
And one of the reasons why that's all, I think back when Tom Joyner created the BlackAmericaWeb.com Relief Fund for African Americans who were impacted after 9/11. And that's exactly what it was. Resources that were going directly to people, as opposed to typically what happens, the people they work with the United Way, the Red Cross, things along those lines. It's like, no. Let's go right to the people and put it directly in their hands.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. You know, I've seen a lot of critique online, especially about this effort that we have going right now, saying that we should give the money to an organization. And while I do respect a ton of organizations doing great work, and we raised $40,000 just a few weeks ago for the Food Bank of New York, you know, I think right now what people also need is cash right in their hands immediately for direct relief. You know, for people who can't even get on the subway or afford gas money to get to these food banks, so on and so forth, right? Or people who just need to keep the lights on.
Right.
You know, $100, $200 could be life-saving right now.
Well, absolutely. And I think it's important what you're doing. And again, moment look, we've seen it with our show. We've seen it where our fan base said, hey, you know, I'll be on live. They're like, dude, what's your Cash App? What's your PayPal? Because you're giving us information we're not getting on the networks. We're seeing black experts, and we've seen that sort of reaction. I think people are in this moment understand how we can help one another and support one another.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the moment is more dire than anything most of us have ever been through in our lives, right? And as a person who's come from a poverty-stricken background, I've seen dire, right? But I've grown up in situations where $20 would have made all the difference, and we could still go outside and try to figure out ways to make that $20. When $20 can make all the difference, but you're supposed to stay at home, what are you left to do, right? What devices are you left to? There aren't any. So we're trying to help the people who realistically might not have another way.
Absolutely. Where can people continue to contribute if they want to, the folks who are watching right now?
Yeah, so anyone who wants to contribute can look for the GoFundMe campaign. It's coronavirus rent relief. And realistically, if that's too hard, people can follow me at Fred T. Joseph on Twitter or Instagram. It's literally plastered all over my social media platforms or profiles rather right now. So if you can't donate, please also amplify. And for those in need, reach out. All right, then. Fred Joseph. Man, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. All right, have a good one. All right, folks, let's talk about people who are getting out of prison because of coronavirus. Michael Cohen is going to be released. President Trump's former lawyer and other inmates in a minimum security camp in upstate New York were told that they would serve their sentences at home. But Bill Cosby, who's been behind bars in Pennsylvania for over a year and a half, won't be getting an early release anytime soon. That's because Lauren and Tiffany, they say we're not releasing a violent offender. Is it fair to characterize Bill Cosby as a violent offender?
Yes.
Yes. Who was talking? Go ahead.
Tiffany and Lauren. Sorry, I had to lean back.
Yeah, you really leaning back. Lord, Lord, have mercy.
It blew me away. It blew me away. I was like, wait a minute. He's still trying to get. No. And you know what? I don't believe everything I see on social media, so I got to look it up. But there's rumors that R. Kelly has been trying to get out of jail, too.
No. There ain't rumors. He's been trying.
That's real?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. This is not your escape from this is not your jubilee because we have a global pandemic. Sir, yes. Roland, they both need to stay in jail. This is for non-violent offenders, and they have been violent offenders, and that is why they are in prison. End of story, period. Sign the dotted line. Now, I pray for their safety inside the prison, and I don't want anybody to get corona, but this is not your opportunity to use the pandemic as a golden ticket out of jail. No, you don't get to do that. Both of them going to stay in jail like they're supposed to.
Well, see, the difference there is, of course, Mr. Cosby has been convicted, and R. Kelly has not been convicted.
Well, hold on. Michael Cohen was convicted. He pled guilty.
Right, but he's a white-collar offender, and he's white. He's a white male, of course. And also, it's a nonviolent offense. So there's a difference there. I would argue that Bill Cosby has been convicted. And I would also argue that the argument for him, to me, would be his age. But the argument against him is that the crimes in question are such that we could not argue that that's white-collar offense or nonviolent offenses, and he has been convicted. R. Kelly hasn't been convicted of anything. So that's a slightly different discussion. I understand that the conventional wisdom is that he's already guilty, but that's not how our system is supposed to work. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So that's a slightly different discussion. But the case of Michael Cohen is is sort of a white collar corruption defense. I mean, a corruption offense. And so I see what that is. But, the fact of the matter is, with regard to high profile, it's the same thing whether we're talking about high profile defendants and people who've been accused as it is with regard to blue collar crimes. Black people will be the last to be coming out of prison under this rule. You can absolutely guarantee that. But every case is different. Cosby is different than R. Kelly. They're not the same person.
Got it.
And so it's a very individual thing.
Folks, let's talk about this story. Bubba Wallace, NASCAR's only black driver, is speaking out after fellow driver Kyle Larson made headlines for using a racial slur during a virtual race on Sunday. He posted a statement to his Twitter page yesterday reacting to the incident, saying, quote, "As much as I didn't want to be involved, I was from the very beginning. There's a part of my background that feels attacked and hurt, and the other part feels confused and angry." He then went on to say that immediately after that, first of all, he heard the comment. He was watching it. Larson called him that night, was apologetic, was profusely. Bubba said he absolutely meant it, but he said, look, that word has no place at all in our society. Just your thoughts on NASCAR's only black driver, making it perfectly clear, look, hey, man, you got impacted, but I ain't here to cover for you. Take your pick. Which one do y'all want to go?
Go ahead, Tiffany. I have not much to say on that.
I'm like, what is there to say about the story except for the racial slurs that we have been seeing when we were outside, and now the racial slurs that we're seeing while we're inside have not disappeared or gone away. To be honest with you, I don't even keep up with NASCAR. To find out that this is the only black man who is a NASCAR driver and he's called this racial slur, I think that that just speaks volumes right now in the year 2020 of what we're experiencing. And we've seen in every other sports genre the same situation in case show itself true, that racism still exists, and no matter where you are and what you do is your profession. And so this is wrong, and there needs to be consequences and repercussions for it.
Yeah, it's a shame that NASCAR doesn't make a stronger statement against certain things like this. There was a recruit for the New York Rangers who was on a Zoom conference, a black hockey player, and the Zoom conference was hacked and the N-word came in, and everybody in the NHL and the president of NHL and the Rangers and everybody made a statement of support, and his future teammates on the Rangers. I mean, they make like a big deal about saying this is wrong and he's part of our family. I mean, you can turn negative moments into positives. And if NASCAR doesn't choose to do it, that's on them.
Well, first of all, they suspended him indefinitely. He got fired from the racing team. Sponsors pulled out. And so a whole bunch of stuff happened there. All right, y'all. You know what time it is.
I'm white. I got you, huh?
Illegally selling water without a permit
on my property.
Whoa! Hey! You don't live here. I'm uncomfortable.
All right, y'all, check this out here. 2 students at a Carrollton, Georgia high school posted a TikTok that they thought was funny.
Hey, today we're making
niggers.
First we have
Black. Yeah, pretty black.
Yeah. Next we have don't have a dad.
Don't have a dad? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have eat watermelon and fried chicken.
Fried chicken and watermelon? Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's yeah.
Next one is make good choices. Let's see.
There's nothing there. Next we have rob people.
Specifically whites. Yeah, they do that.
Last one is
go to jail.
Stephanie and Jeff thought this was hilarious. The school district did not. In a statement, they said that any student who was involved in the incident would face serious consequences. And in fact, the young lady had already been accepted to a college, and students have already found out her name, and they said to the university she should not come here. I see, Tiffany and Lauren, I keep telling people, if y'all want to be stupid and put it on video, please buy all. Really, Tiffany, your mouth, really? you got...
Well, here's the problem. I don't know if you guys... So first of all, where is Carrollton High School at?
Carrollton is in Georgia.
Georgia, let me tell you something. That is actually... What they're doing is there's multiple other memes where, I don't know if you guys have seen this, and TikTok videos have gone viral. There's the challenge stuff happening. Right now, that idea of pouring cups of water, black men and people have been pouring cups of water to build their, like, beautiful black woman. So what happens is they'll pour and they'll say, she's God-driven, she's smart, she's intelligent. It's all the positive affirmations about blackness. And so this right here is a direct attack, not only on that actual challenge to build beautiful black women and to build smart, talented, healthy black communities, but they're trying to be funny. And so that is extremely, extremely violent and triggering for them to do this. And I'm even more appalled that they have no shame showing their face in the TikTok. This is ridiculous. Like, those different stereotypes are go to jail. I'm looking at the video. That is extremely violent, and I am glad that the school has said that they're not going to graduate. And I hope that they not only apologize but learn their lesson, because the people around them, the friends that they have, need to also know that this was disrespectful and wrong. How dare these little white kids do that? You know what I'm saying? Roland, you know I've been dealing with racism for a very long time in my work, and it never surprises me, but that surprised me, and that is insulting and violent and disrespectful, and I'm glad that the school took those repercussions.
Lauren?
Well, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if she gets accepted to the college of her choice. I tend to doubt it. The bottom line of it is that people who are insecure will do anything to feel secure, and it's sad. I mean, it's just sad.
It is crazy here. All right, so...
That's terrible.
Well, you know what? Again...
that's terrible.
Look, bottom line is here. I keep telling you, y'all keep shooting the video, we're going to keep showing it. Right. I don't mind y'all...
Keep being white. I don't mind y'all. Tell them how white you are. I don't
mind y'all acting the fool, but I'm just trying to tell you, we're going to go ahead and do this here. All right, y'all. Huggy Lowdown's coming up in just a second. We're about to get him on the line. Y'all go ahead and work on that right now. But I just got to say a couple of things, because, y'all, these people are really kind of driving me crazy with this whole deal. So let me find this video. So my man Chadwick Boseman posted a video. Okay, you know what? Good. Y'all go ahead and roll the video then. Then I'm going to explain my thoughts after this. Go ahead.
It's April 15th. It's Jackie Robinson Day. That's right. It's still Jackie Robinson Day. I can't think of a better time to remember my hero, and he's the hero of many of you out there, than this time that we're in, this pandemic. I can't think of a better way to commemorate everything that he was about than to announce the partnership between Tolco and Figs. If you know, Figs is one of the companies that's the designer and manufacturer of modern medical apparel. And Tolco is basically my friend Thomas Toll, who, through the company Legendary, produced 42. Tolco and Figs is donating $4.2 million for 42 in protective medical equipment in honor of Jackie Robinson Day.
Absolutely phenomenal thing that Chadwick Boseman talked about. But way too many damn people are spending their time freaking out, oh, my God, what's happening with Chadwick? I mean, look at this photo. What's going on? I mean, look at all this weight he's losing. Can I explain something to y'all about actors? This is what they do. Robert De Niro totally changed his look and put on, 30 or 40 pounds to play a Jake LaMotta in the movie, Raging Bull, okay? Christian Bale put on, 50, 60 pounds to play Dick Cheney in Vice. Remember when 50 Cent was real skinny and people were like, oh, my God, he's sick? No, it was for a movie role. Remember Denzel, the memes that were done out there when Denzel with the long mustache, they were like, oh, my God, what happened to Denzel? He went to a boxing match. Well, he was playing in The Magnificent Seven. We need to understand that these are actors, okay? And also, for all the greatness of Black Panther, that's not the only movie that Chadwick Boseman has done. And his career should not be defined, and people only stick him in the box of Black Panther. And so, stop freaking out with his appearance. But here's the other deal. If he wasn't shooting a movie that required for him to change his look, let's say he was going on a spiritual journey or transformation or actually decided to lose weight, okay? But I think sometimes people should stop freaking out and focus on what he was talking about. The raising of the donation of $4.2 million to help those who are impacted by coronavirus. I just think for a lot of times, people on social media don't have any understanding that actors do this all the time. They change themselves to fit into a particular role. That's what you're seeing right here. So it just need to be said for the people who somehow are freaking the hell out. It just need to be said. All right, folks, we lost a couple of greats as a result of this coronavirus. One of those folks is Theodore Gaffney, just died from coronavirus at the age of 92. In the spring of 1961, Jet Magazine asked Gaffney, a Washington freelance photographer, to travel with the Freedom Riders, a group of activists from across the country who planned to challenge segregation in the South by riding Greyhound and Trailways buses. Organized by the Congress of Racial Equality, the Freedom Riders wanted to sit in the front of the buses with white people, use whites-only restrooms and bus terminals, guys, wrong graphic, too early, and eat at whites-only lunch counters. Gaffney eagerly signed up. He found himself risking his life in documenting one of the most tumultuous 48 hours in civil rights history. We also saw the passing this week of Willie Davis, Hall of Fame defensive end for the Green Bay Packers of the 1960s. He died at the age of 85. He played 10 years for the Packers, joining the team in 1960, and becoming a stalwart defensive performer at left end under Vince Lombardi. Davis was a 5-time All-Pro and still holds the Packers records for recovered fumbles with 21. Sacks of opposing quarterbacks were not an official stat when he played, but historians have credited him with more than 100 during his career. He brought a tenacity to the game that made him, according to NFL Films, one of the 100 greatest players in pro football history. And so we certainly, thoughts and prayers go out to their families. All right, folks, we got my man Huggy. All right, y'all, Roland. It's Friday. You know what? I told y'all I'm bringing Wild 'N Out Wednesday back, but we're going to have comedians on Wednesday and Friday. As a result, Huggy!
What's up, Roland? Where you at, baby? I can't see.
Y'all, where's Huggy? Y'all got him in the... There he is. Oh, I'm sorry. They say you got a poor connection. You got that cheap-ass cricket phone.
It's not loading up. What's going on?
They told me your thing saying poor connection. We see you, though. We see you.
Do you?
Yeah, we see you. Don't worry about it. We see you.
Don't be alarmed, people. I'm gearing up for a movie.
What movie is that?
The Life and Times of Sherman Hemsley.
Well, first, this whole... Go ahead.
I don't even want to show you my hair, Brian. Bruh, I look like Roscoe Lee Brown and Sherman Hemsley's stepson.
Let me tell you something. Black people are having a little difficult time with coronavirus because can't nobody go to the barber, Huggy.
Nobody. And they don't want the barber to come to them.
Well, in fact, Seth the Entertainer posted, did he take it down? I think he took it down. He posted, yeah, he probably took it down. Seth had posted a photo called Corona Cuts. And he made this joke where he had the barber came over and the barber was charging him $1,200. I saw it on Instagram.
That's a whole stimulus check, huh?
Yeah, ain't lying. But I think he took it down because people said you shouldn't have a barber coming to your house because there actually was a barber in Mississippi who died, who was still cutting hair. And so, man, how is this thing being rough on comedians?
You see me? Bro, I don't know what to do right now, bro. Actually, me and Chris Paul is working on the show. It's supposed to be launching on the 25th, so we got that in the works.
Launching where?
On Instagram Live.
Dude, you know what? Let me tell you something, Huggy. Everybody and their mama is on Instagram Live now. I mean, last night.
I know you, bro.
Go ahead.
I know you was ahead of the curve before everybody. That's why I call you Gadget, because you had all the gadgets. You told me about Periscope 10 years ago. You remember that? We was on a plane. We was coming from...
When it launched, I was actually one of the first folks to sign up when Periscope launched. Yep.
And you told me about it. You remember we was at the airport. You told me about it. You was like, man, you got to get with this Periscope. I'm like, man, what the hell is this Periscope? And then I logged on, and Donnell Rollins told me, what you know about Periscope? I said, what you think I know about Periscope?
Oh, see, you got a little information. Then all of a sudden you start flexing.
I got with me.
Well, man, it's a trip because now the problem is don't nobody go to sleep. Last night, D-Nice decided to start spinning at 3 a.m.
He spin whenever he see Holly hashtag, man. Hey, man. The game is messed up right now, man. You know what, man? I haven't been to this many clubs in my life, bro. I'm coming home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, man. Don't know where my car is, man. It's crazy.
Well, what's also crazy is you're seeing all these entertainers and others. See, again, that's what I said earlier. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody will say, is Tiffany Lofton still there? Because I be seeing Tiffany pop in. Everybody's on the same page, Huggy. Ain't no VIP room.
Bro, you tell them ain't no VIP room, man. We all in the same room, man. That's what's wrong with these daggone celebrities, man. We all over here in the VIP. Everybody in VIP.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Tiffany, like last night, Ari Lennox was on for like 4 hours. These folks don't know what to do.
Roland, how the hell you get up, though, Roland? Because you be in the club 5 and 6 in the morning and be right back. Man, I'm thinking it's 5 Rollers, man.
No, it's just one.
It's just 5 Rollers, man.
No, I usually go to bed about 5:30.
Man, you lucky I know you, because I would think you do cocaine or something, man. But I know you, brother. I know you're drug-free. But I talked to Chris Paul about this earlier. I said, man, I think Roland's on drugs, man. No, I can't explain it, man.
Well, I've never had an energy drink in my life. I don't drink coffee.
You are an energy drink, Roland.
Hey, when I'm up, I'm up. You see the bright ass colors I got on.
Bro, I see him. I said, bro, yeah.
And what's funny is you'll be in all the parties with D-Nice, and then you'll be at the other BET party, and then you'll leave those parties and go host your own party on Instagram by yourself in your living room.
No, he be at the party at the same time.
I do have 5 devices. So
at the parties at the same. I'm like, how the hell you at D-Nice party? Then you hosting your own. Then I saw you in Guy's Kitchen. Then you at another party, then you're hosting your own situation, man. I'm telling you, something going on, man.
Different outfit on every single time.
Yo,
I think some of them kente ensembles be reversible or something.
No. If you understand,
you got on more colors than a Rubik's cube today, Roland.
Well, it was Friday, so I said we need some colors. Let me just give y'all the long version. Let me Anthony, get a wide shot.
Only Roland can get away with that.
Anthony, get a wide shot. So y'all, this is one of the jackets they made for me when I was in. Let me take this off. When I was in Ghana. So Huggy, y'all turn the speaker up. I took my earpiece off. So when I went to the kente,
Roland, did you get that from Ghana?
Yeah, they made it for me there. This is called the Obama kente. So every kente has a fabric, has a name. And so they made it for me.
That's real crazy, Roland, because I've seen the same outfit on a mannequin up in Langley Park, Maryland.
Well, you can order the fabric.
That's the same situation, Roland.
You can order the fabric.
So I'm thinking that's not a one-on-one, Roland. That's a one of many. Did you go in the store and just grab the mannequin out the window?
Okay, let me. When Obama went to Ghana, they presented him with the fabric. So yeah, you can order the fabric.
What Obama? Barack or the brother?
I have something to show you. Hold on.
Oh look, but here's the deal though. They ain't got that coat. They might have a pattern, but they ain't got that coat.
What you say?
Right.
No, it ain't the same. They ain't the same.
I can't.
Out of this one.
Yeah, it ain't the same.
No, different thread count.
But see,
different thread count.
But right, totally different thread count. But here's the other deal. You see, she just got a big ass fabric. I actually had an outfit made.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, so I just bought the whole thing. It was hanging on the wall for about a year.
And they made a hat too, so it's clean. It's clean.
You look like a colorful bed in a bag, brother.
You damn skippy. Look, I ain't got a problem wearing color.
But you sharp though. You stay sharp with it. I'm wearing old Mays hats.
Old Frankie Beverly Mays white hat.
Old Frankie Beverly Mays hat. Bro.
Well, man, the coronavirus has messed up a whole lot of people. There are
a whole lot, man.
A whole lot. I wonder how the side piece is holding up.
Did they release the stimulus check for them, Roland? If
they filed for it. If they filed for it, they get it.
But the side pieces get stimulus?
The pieces, if they file for it, they get it.
Hey, I saw a tweet from Dion Cole. He said, dudes taking the trash out 10 times a day just to check their phone.
Oh, no, ain't nobody doing all that, bro. Ain't nobody doing all that, man.
Well, so how are you dealing with all this time at home?
Roland, you know what? I found out, man, I really don't like myself.
What do you mean?
I'm spending time with myself, man. I get it now. I see why people don't like me.
So, what have you discovered?
I've been doing a whole lot of self-reflecting, man.
What have you discovered in your self-reflection?
I can't use curse words, man.
Yes, you can. The show's called Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Roland was cussing earlier.
Yeah, I was cussing. Really? I was cussing the son bitch out earlier.
I've been holding my profanity back and shit.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What?
Be yourself.
Roland,
this is on the Roland Martin show.
Okay, I'm gonna be myself.
This ain't TV One. I own this.
Bruh, you've been putting it down for you. Hey man, let's clap it up. I can't clap it up for Roland because you see I'm bootlegging. I'm holding my own phone. I don't even have a give.
So you need me to send you a link to a tabletop tripod?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Look, right now, look, I got the light kit right here. I'm trying to light myself up and hold it.
Okay, hold on. Let me see the light kit again.
That's a good one.
Let me see. Let me see again.
That's a portable, Roland. That's a portable.
No.
Situation.
I saw it. That's a newer. That's a newer CN216.
How you know that, Roland?
Dude, I saw the front of the light. I know what I got 6 of those lights.
That's what he do. He got about 8 of them.
What the hell?
That's a newer CN216.
No,
Bruh,
it's not.
you
He
just
made that
called
number
him-
up. Show him the light.
I know. I don't even want. He just be calling out numbers. You worse than somebody else I know calling out numbers.
Look on the side of that light.
What's the side of the light? Read it. Is he right?
Hold on. Hey, Roland. What you say it was, Roland?
That's a Newer. Newer, right?
Right.
Right.
Bruh.
Is it a 160 or a 260?
All right. I don't know, brother. You're right.
See that is Tiffany.
Right.
He like,
right.
damn, okay. Damn, he right.
Roland is the worst person to be wrong in front of because he's going to let you have it.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. He keeps statistics in them long kente coats he be wearing. You know, he's a walking foul box.
Hey, look, you got to always be ready.
Always be ready. All ready. As they say in Texas, all ready.
Like you. Look, when somebody want to start heckling, you got to be ready.
You got to be ready.
Heckling to me is when they want to challenge me on facts. I got to always be ready.
Oh, you keep the facts, brother. You keep the facts.
Well, man, look, wanted to have you on the show. We had Chris on. We couldn't get both of y'all on together because I think y'all on that shared Wi-Fi plan.
We got that, hey, brother. Times are hard, bro. Club quarantine, bro. Times are hard. We sharing plans.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what the hell? I was like, we got Skype and FaceTime. They're like, no, we can't.
Y'all need to call Xfinity because Xfinity will give you free Wi-Fi for an hour. So you need to call them next time and just be on the Xfinity Wi-Fi for an hour.
See, the women know. The women always know. It's always the women. Always know.
Give it to you for an hour.
He is not going to be using that for us. That's going to be for Pornhub. All right, Huggy.
Who told you that, Roland? Some people in club quarantine, some people in club Pornhub.
Huggy, always good to see you. Where can people reach out to you?
At Huggy Lowdown DC on Instagram and Twitter, man. Follow me, man. And look for me and Chris Paul's show launching next week, man. We're going to come on the show next week and talk about it, all right?
All right. We'll have y'all back talk about it. I appreciate it.
Much respect, Roland.
Thanks a bunch. All right, Huggy Lowdown. Thanks a bunch. Y'all got to go back. So, Lauren, thanks for being on the show. Chris for being on the show. Y'all, so go back to Tiffany. So I posted a video about a week or two ago when Tiffany got her Roland Martin Unfiltered shirt. And, y'all, she didn't even talk on the video. This all you heard was, ha! Go ahead. Don't show her. Don't show me. Why y'all showing me? Thank you. Show Tiffany solo. Show Tiffany solo. You ain't got to show me.
Get off me. Get off me. You see the sweater? Do you see it? You see the website at the bottom? You see the hashtag? You see it? Because it's a hashtag, because we over here, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a fucking billboard, Roland. I just want the haters to know this was the first show that put me on. This is the show I'm always going to come back to. People was like, Tiffany, why are you with Roland Biden? We ain't seen you in a long time. I said, I've been busy working for the people. But I'm repping. And it looked good because it fit me cute. And, you know what I'm saying? We always want crew necks. So I appreciate this and you setting this up. It wasn't that expensive either. People can go get it. I think it's only $27. Go get it.
All you got to do.
Get my bio.
The link is on RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Y'all can get that shirt if y'all want to get that shirt.
It's a crew neck. It's not a shirt.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's a crew neck. If y'all want to get the crew neck, y'all want to work it. So here's the deal. Any of y'all get any of the Roland Martin Unfiltered gear, if you post a photo on Instagram or Twitter and Facebook and you tag me, I'll show your photo or your video on the show. That's what we'll do, okay? Tiffany, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Always glad to have you here. Y'all support Tiffany and NAACP. Thanks a bunch. Again, thank you, Lauren Victoria Burke, Chris Metzler. Folks, we need your support. We do this show every single day, 5 days a week. We don't do this thing as a weekly. We don't do this as sometime. We cover black folks every single day. You saw the experts we had on today. Congresswoman Robin Kelly, Dr. Ebony Hilton, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Fred Joseph, Jordan Charlton, Alicia Reese, and then, of course, Huggy. Y'all, that's 7 guests right there. It's some folk, they can't talk to 7 people in a month. We do it every single day. We've been here talking about coronavirus, how it impacts black people, but we also need your support. We need your support because we're not corporate owned, we're independent, we're black owned, advertising is frozen because of this, and so please join our Bring the Funk fan club. You get discounts to products, to the pocket squares that we sell, to the books that we sell, all those different things like that. So join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our followers to join our fan club to contribute about $50 a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Nobody else is doing what we're doing on the digital platform. That's why we do it, because we want to be completely unapologetic and unfiltered and bring you the kind of information you cannot get anywhere else. Normally, I go 2 hours. Today, I went a little bit over my time. I went about 2 hours and 10 minutes. My apologies to my staff and everybody else, but we had just so much good content. And that's why we do what we do. So do this here. Cash App is right there. Hold up, right there. $RM Unfiltered. All right, flip it. PayPal. PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. I would love to be able to. Here's what I'm gonna do. If 100 of our followers, and look, I'm looking at y'all right now. Y'all can give on YouTube right now. Directly on YouTube. I'm looking at Facebook. There's 1,000 of y'all there. I'm looking at Periscope. I'm looking at all the feeds right now. Now when we do end of the show, we're going to roll all the names. Now, so many will be rolling real fast. But if 200 of y'all join the fan club this weekend at $50 for the whole year, I'm going to personally read your names on Monday. I'm going to totally change it. I'm going to personally read your names on Monday's show. So it won't be the scroll. I'm going to read your names. I'm going to do that every Friday. That's what I'm going to do. Every Friday this month and in May, if we get 200 people to join our Bring the Funk fan club at $50 each, I'm going to personally give you a shout out on Monday's show. All right, that's the challenge. Okay, smart Lloyd Kirkendall, what about us that are already there? Well, Lloyd, I just gave you a shout out. See how that works. All right, y'all. I'm going to see y'all on Monday. We got some great content streaming this weekend. Hope y'all watch it. Okay, y'all be safe. Wear your mask. Wear your gloves. Don't congregate. Take care of your families. Check on your loved ones. Check on the elderlies, because we need to make sure that we still here. Holla! Bye.